Hey everyone, this is Rob. Just wanted to do a real quick video here. This is an undammed CPS2 Supergun arcade board. Now I know that sounded like a mouthful, and for those of you that don't know, let me break that down a little bit. Undammed is a person, or at least it's his online nickname. He is very big in the Street Fighter community, especially in ST or Super Turbo. And he's been around for a while, and he is very cool because he was able to figure out a way to consoleize a CPS2 board. So first of all, what does consoleized mean? It means taking an arcade board meant to be put in arcade cabinets, usually you don't see these things, and making them work as a console would, a game console. So where it has its own power supply, its own video out, and its own controller ports. So normally this thing just hooks up to a JAMA connector inside of an arcade cabinet, which has the wiring for your sticks, and then it has an extra set of wires or harness for the kick buttons because JAMA doesn't support 6 buttons like Street Fighter uses, it only supports 3. But in any case, consoleizing an arcade board is often called, or the result product is often called a supergun. That's just a generic name. I guess somebody called their consoleized JAMA harness a supergun a long time ago, and that just kind of stuck. CPS2 actually stands for Capcom Play System 2. It is the second, as it kind of suggests there, in a series of arcade boards that Capcom put out in the 80s and 90s. There's also a CPS3, and if you've played games like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, or any of the Street Fighter 3s, and various other things, you're talking about a a CPS3 board. This is a CPS2 board. It is much more popular. CPS1 boards were like Street Fighter 2, the original, the World Warrior, Champion Edition, and Turbo Hyper Fighting were all CPS1 boards. From Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and on, Vampire Savior, Darkstalkers, there's a whole bunch of games that support, that are in the CPS2 system, I should say. So let me take a quick look at this thing. First, the CPS2 system itself, you'll see that it's a two-tone color. It's actually two different parts. The bottom part is what's known as an A board. The A board has the CPU, the memory, basically the guts, the part that would be the computer or the game console. The top part, the green part, is actually just a very large cartridge. You can think of it like a Super Nintendo cartridge or Genesis cartridge. It's just very big. You can kind of get scale from my hand here. It's pretty big. Now, the CPS2 system had multiple regions, and you can tell what region your board is by the color. So green is Japan. There are blue ones that, those are North American. And then I think the gray ones are Asian. And I think there's even like orange ones and yellow ones. I can't remember which, but I think one of them is Latin America and one of them is a rental. They had like a rental version. But anyway, luckily for us in America, the CPS2 system, Japan boards and American boards are interchangeable. So you can take any CPS2A board and put any green or blue board on it and it will work. They're completely interchangeable. This is actually Street Fighter 2 Grandmaster Challenge, or Street Fighter 2 Turbo in America. This is the final version of Street Fighter 2 that was released by Capcom. Well, not counting the Hyper Anniversary Edition, which came way later. But this is the last real version of Street Fighter 2. Anniversary Edition basically just let you choose from the different versions of Street Fighter 2 characters. But this one is the last true version. Anyway, this board is pretty expensive nowadays. I think they run $200 or $300 just for the top part, and the bottom one running probably less than $100 roughly. But anyway, let me get to the part where the undammed stuff comes in. So Undammed has been engineering the shit out of this. It's really nice, actually. He's got his logo here, the UD CPS2, and he's got Player 1 and Player 2 USB ports, which he added. And you can see the USB symbol there. He did a fantastic job on this. That's basically, you know, all there is to it as far as you just plug in your controllers. The other side's pretty mundane. Let me show you. I have to be really careful with this or Haas will kill me. Again, this is not mine. This is my friend Haas's machine. He's been really cool, and he brought it over last night. He had to leave early, so he said he'd leave it here overnight, and so I'm taking advantage of that and making this little video. This is just, obviously, just a fan for cooling the system. And here is, it's super clean the way he did this, but he's added, if it looks familiar, that is actually a PlayStation multi-out port. So it takes any PlayStation cable. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. I think PlayStation 4 uses HDMI only, so that wouldn't work. But yeah, any standard PlayStation 1, 2, or 3 cable should work. It supports, I believe, RGB, composite, and S-video. Most people will use S-video or composite, and that looks okay, but because I have a PVM here, I actually have a BVM over here too, I hook it up via RGB, and it looks fantastic. It looks amazing. And really playing these old games, especially things that require really tight timing, like old fighting games, especially Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I think it's imperative to play them on a CRT. You really need to play them on a low to almost no latency, no input lag monitor. So playing this on a PVM is like heaven, because you get the best of both worlds. It's a very fast CRT. It's super high quality. Even if you just connect it via composite or S-video, it looks great. But because it supports RGB, you get the perfect colors. It looks amazing. So I'll show you that in a little bit. But the other thing here you'll see is that he's added a power supply port here. And it actually just takes a standard laptop power supply, it looks like. The power supply that Haas brought me, I guess it came with it, is just, it looks like an IBM, old IBM ThinkPad power supply. So that just goes right in there. So you plug in the power supply there, you plug in the PlayStation output there, and then your two controllers on the side, and you just flip it on. Here's the on switch. Really, Undammed did an amazing job. It looks like it came like this from the factory. But let me turn it on real quick. I'm going to set this down, and we're going to pop it on. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And all I've done is plugged in the power supply and the RGB out video cable. It's just a special PlayStation cable that supports RGB. And that's it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when I plug in a USB controller. And let me show you the USB controllers. This is a Qamba Q4 RAF. It's just modified with different graphics there. Those are, if you notice, those are the original World Warriors and their original character select screen order. They're all chibi versions, little mini anime characters. So you have Ryu, Ken, Honda, Chun-Li, Blanca, Zangief, and then Guile and Dhalsim. If you look here, who's this guy? I played mostly Street Fighter 4 with this stick. This is Cody. I used to use Cody in Street Fighter 4 back when we used to play that. And that's my handle there. This is actually, by the way, if you ever want customized sticks, look for Arts Hobbies. I mentioned them in other videos before. They do a great job. They printed all this stuff. I got these buttons from Arcade Shock. They're pretty pricey. I think like 13 to 14 bucks a pop. But anyway, not talking about the stick. And there's another Q4 RAF unmodified with a broken door. I guess that's modified, unintentional modification there. I actually broke that at Evo 2 or 3 years ago. Can't remember. But anyway, so I'm going to show you what it looks like when we turn it on. And it should be on RGB input A. So it should come on. Let's see. It just powered on. And it's instant. And there it is. Super Street Fighter 2 2X, which is the same thing as Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo here in America. So this is a arcade board, so you're not going to get stuff like training mode, although Haas has told me that they're working on a modification where they're going to allow stage select, training mode, all kinds of cool stuff added to it. So we're looking forward to that update. But for right now, it literally plays as if you had turned on an arcade machine. That's it. You can put credits in it and play, and that's it. As far as controller support, Undammed has programmed in controller support for all the popular, or most all the popular, I shouldn't say all, most of the popular boards, PCBs, and controllers. So for most folks, if you just plug it in, they'll be mapped correctly. All you have is 6 buttons. So it should map, light, medium, hard punch, light, medium, hard kick automatically. And you'll see right here, we'll plug it in, and this little LED light should turn on. Let me make sure I do this correctly. It looks like it wants it this way. So it's hard to see because I have the light on, but it actually turned on. There you can kind of see it there. There's an LED that lights up. If you should have a stick where you've wired the buttons out of standard order, you can still assign the buttons to what you want by holding down 3 attack buttons before you plug it in. And when you plug it in, you'll notice this LED will blink. And then all you do is, once it's blinking, you hit them in order: light, medium, hard punch, light, medium, hard kick, and then it just sets it. And as long as you don't turn it off or power it off, it will keep your settings. If you soft reset via the test menu, it will keep your settings. But yeah, it works really, really well. And I'm going to just go ahead and plug in the other one here. And again, you don't really have to mess with the configuration, but you can. You can see they're both lit up. And all you do is hit select for credits. So all I'm doing is hit select. That works on both sticks, and you can hit 2-player or 1-player, and I do hit 2-player, and it just works just like a standard arcade. It is literally the arcade ROM running on a CRT. And I know I've said this before, but you cannot really see how amazing RGB looks when I'm filming it with an iPhone. It doesn't even come close to showing you what it really looks like. So, and it controls so amazingly well. You're using a CRT and the actual arcade board. There's no emulation at all. It's super responsive. I've had people play the on the undam board on this PVM and claim that it just makes them play so much better because it's so responsive. Now, it is using USB, so that if your controllers have a little bit of lag when it sends a signal to the machine, that's not its fault. But still, it's so good. It's negligible. Anyway, that is the undammed CPS2 system, and I would love to get my hands on one day. Just a matter of getting. I've messaged Undam a few times on Twitter, and he hasn't responded. So I know they're hard to get, and they're probably pretty expensive. But one day, I hope to own my own. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions on this thing, just leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.